Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Michala, and in today's video I'm going to catch up in all of my yearly spreads. This is April when I'm filming it, and so I have January, February, and March that I have not filled in. So if you're behind like me, I hope this video can encourage you to catch up in your reading journal. I know it can be daunting when you're behind, but I hope to share a few tips with you on how to catch up when you're behind. And keep in mind that behind is relative. You're really not behind on anything. So grab a cup of something cozy and catch up in your reading journal with me. Let's light this candle and we'll get started. So I realized how behind I was and I was feeling bad about it, and I was about to just catch up off camera in my reading journal, but I thought I should film and take you guys along with me because I feel like there's really no shame in being behind. I set up this reading journal in December of last year and I really love it and I'm excited to use it. So even though I'm behind, that's just life. And realistically, I think it'll be fairly simple to catch up. I just flipped past my index. We'll do that later. I think I'll do my index last. First, I want to catch up in these monthly year at a glance stats. So depending on how your reading journal is set up, catching up for you might look different. I am mostly behind in these yearly spreads, like I said. I've done a pretty good job with my monthly book reviews because I film them for YouTube. So that helps keep me motivated to do those in a timely manner. But these spreads I have not done, but it will be much easier for me to catch up in these because I did lay out these yearly spreads first and I didn't do them as I went. So my first tip I would recommend is, especially if you haven't started a reading journal yet, to set up spreads in advance. So sometimes this comes with time and learning what you like, but 2 or 3 years ago when I started my first reading journal, I just found some inspiration online on Pinterest and YouTube and set up some spreads I wanted to try. And then this year's reading journal, I did not do as many yearly spreads because I kind of found some of them I wasn't using. But as I flip through and catch up on my spreads, hopefully I can show you that these spreads in particular are pretty easy to catch up in if you get stuck. Which brings me to my second tip, which is to keep an ugly journal where you jot things down. So this is not particularly ugly, but there are like mistakes and little things in here because I'm not too precious about this. This is what I use to help keep track of things while I read. So I would recommend keeping a different journal, even your planner maybe, sticky notepad, or a Goodreads account somewhere close to where you typically read. So often this journal is near my bed, and if I don't have this, I will just usually keep track of things in Goodreads. If I start a new book, I'll just go onto Goodreads and mark that I started reading the book, and I try to do the same when I finish it. And then I can just refer back to my Goodreads no matter how many months I'm behind. It takes some work, but I can look at all the books I read in January, how many pages. I can see my ratings, so I can calculate my average rating. And I don't always have the digital, physical, and DNF unhaul and haul information in Goodreads, but you don't have to keep track of all these things if that doesn't work for you. So since I do keep track of all these things, what I've been doing along with Goodreads, my Goodreads is not always super accurate. I'll show you this journal is, I have a slot for each month. April's not written out yet, but I have most of the months in here, and it's kind of, if you can see these slightly darker lines, it has a section here, and then here. I use the top for total books, total pages, how many were audio, ebook, and or physical, my average rating, and then I put the book title and the star rating in this section, and I started pencil lining in an area for my books I'd bought. So this is a very quick at a glance where I can write it in here messily and just whenever I think about it. So often I'll do the books in here as I read them, star rating I add after I've read it, and then I just calculate the total books and things up here. So if you have like a sticky note or something by your bed where you can just write these things down, it's much easier because now I just need to transfer it. So let's do that quickly. I'm going to use my 0.5 Muji gel pen. It's like this 0.5 tip ballpoint gel pen, but it's very smooth. And we're going to start with January, and I'm looking over here at my other notebook, and total books I read was 4. Total pages, 1,482. Average rating was 4 stars. So my digital category is for audio and ebook. So I'm going to put a 3 with a headphone symbol, or like a, kind of looks like a music note, but it's supposed to be like a little headphone symbol, and 1 with a little E. So that's 1 ebook and 3 digital. My physical slot will be empty for January. DNFs, I DNF'd 1 book. I actually did unhaul 2 books. And based on my books bought area, I can see that I bought 2 books. So that counts as hauling 2 books. For February, I read 3 books. Pages were still higher than the previous month, so 1,521. And that's why I like keeping track of pages separately, because it'll kind of, you know, show you that you read more pages, even if it was fewer books. My average rating was 5 stars though. It was 3 5-star books for me in February. It was Daughter of the Forest, Son of Shadows, and Wuthering Heights. I did a February wrap-up video if you haven't seen that, but yeah, that was a great reading month. 2 audio, 1 physical, so that will be 2 with an audio symbol and 1 physical. I DNF'd 1 book. I've been DNFing more to help me kind of just put down a book if I'm not into it and pick up a different book, because I tend to, in the past, I tried to just push through every book, and I would genuinely read less because of that. I would not look forward to reading at night. I wouldn't feel like it, and I would choose a different hobby and end up not reading. So I've let myself DNF things, especially this year I have Kindle Unlimited. So that kind of helps, because I can try out a book and just get a different one if I'm not loving it. And then I unhauled no books, and I did haul a lot. I have 6 books that I got in February. And then in March, I read 6 books. 2 were manga, and I counted them as 1 in terms of a book review. And on my cover page for March, I only wrote like 1 slot because I didn't think each manga needed its own little like frame, if you saw my March spreads. But in total books, I'm still going to put 6, and then the page count will kind of reflect if those were shorter books, mangas, longer books. So I am going to put all 6 for March. And then it was 2,265 pages. Because even though some were short, I read the 7 Waters series I continued and Throne of Glass, so those books were a little bit bigger. My average rating was 4.5. I'm having a really good reading year so far, I think because of letting myself DNF books and finding series that I really like, because so far it's paying off. I tend to like the next books in the series. And another thing helping me is doing audiobooks. I was not a super big audiobook person last year, but I got an Audible account for really cheap along with the Kindle Unlimited on a sale like over Christmas or January or something. But so far I've really liked the Audible subscription especially. I did 4 audio and 2 physical. So 4 audio symbol, 2 physical. I didn't DNF any or haul, and I got 2 books. And I guess I'll put a 0 here so it just looks filled out. And then yeah, now we can move this. And I feel like pretty quickly there are a lot of my stats filled in here. And again, I did keep track of them somewhere else, so that was simple for me. But I do really recommend, if your reading journal is more like mine, where it is very decorated and more of like an archive, either keep your reading journal by your bed if that works for you, or have a different journal, or literally a small little notebook, scratch pad, or sticky note where you write down things like some stats after each month. And then you only have to come in here whenever you have time. Next are my reading goals, and I was being honest when I said I haven't done anything in here at all. So this is another spread I set up in the beginning of the year or the end of the previous year. And I put a key in here so I knew what I wanted to color code things. Now the big thing is figuring out what pens I used to make those, because I think that's actually my yellow, or is it another green? Let's figure this out. So here are my swatches of my Tombow, and based on the spread we just did, we will fill in each month how many ebook, physical, and audio. And this is like more of a visual page, so at a glance you can visually see with the color coding how many ebooks, physical, and audio, along with my total count. I'm trying to read 48 books or 50 this year. I think I'll try to read 50 and just add some little boxes here if I make it to 50. But that's pretty much my goal. I don't really go higher than that so far in a year because I just haven't had time to read any more than that. That's plenty for me. Averages a book a week or so. Okay, so I think it's these colors. I think it's light green is ebook, darker green is physical, and audio is yellow. I think those are my Tombow colors I chose. A different year I did a variety of pens, but I think this year I chose all Tombows. And now let's put this away. And January was 3 audio, 1 ebook. There we go. Now let's do February. 2 audio, 1 physical. Another reminder is just to go easy on yourself. You're never really behind. In 2024, I set up my first reading journal, I think in like around this time of year, March or April or something. So it's never too late. You can start one whenever you want, and you don't even have to end it when the year's over if you don't want to. You can keep track of more than a year in your journal or whatever you want. You can do a year starting on an April, ending on an April. Just remember that you don't have to follow any rules, and if you feel like starting a reading journal now from scratch, you can watch my setup video, you can watch other people's setup videos, and you can do it whenever you have time. I know end of year, beginning of year time is hard to make time to do new things. So if you can't make your reading journal setup in December or January, that's absolutely fine. You're not actually behind. Let me make sure I get my physical color for, in February it was Wuthering Heights. I read physically and annotated it, which is a goal of mine to annotate more books. I'm doing that kind of slowly. I've been reading a Mary Oliver book all year, very slowly, and annotating it. So when I finish it, I'll make a spread for it for sure, but that's just been a slow thing I've been doing. I do feel like the dark green and the light green are kind of coming out a similar color. I mean, I can tell the difference in person better than on camera, so I think it's fine. If anything, maybe I'll go over the darker one again. It doesn't really look that green right now on my paper for whatever reason, but whatever. I feel like it still goes with this darker, moodier green and black color scheme down here with touches of gold and like the lantern light color. So this is still working for me. I'm definitely heavy on the audio book so far. March, 4 audio, 2 physical. So again with the audio, to physical. Also, pro tip, if you're filling in something like I am where I'm going over with a wet pen on top of ink I did previously, try to use a waterproof pen for your black lines so that it doesn't all smear and bleed when you color over it later. That might be obvious to some people, but if you've never set up a reading journal, that's probably something I wouldn't have thought of before. I know one time, I think last year, I did my extra spaces for 50 books, and for those 2 extra spaces, I forgot to use my Micron, and I used my Muji gel pen, but just showing you real quick, I believe Sakura, yeah, I'm using my Sakura Micron for any of my waterproof lines. And there we go. I have caught all up, and we can put my key back in there. And I think I might add some other things in this envelope, like a list of books I've been wanting. I've kind of been trying to refine my list of books I want. Which brings me to my wish list. These are books that I thought I wanted at the beginning of the year, specifically to own physically. So not like audio, not ebook, but to own physically because I thought I would really love them, and I'm kind of collecting the series or really like the cover or that kind of thing. So far, I have read Finding Grace, and I bought Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter, but I still need to read this. And I actually didn't get Finding Grace physically yet. I still kind of want to. When I reviewed it, I kind of told you guys I wasn't sure how I felt, that it was definitely good and well written and kept my interest, but the overall feeling of the book, it was complicated and made me feel different things, and I don't know that I preferred that or if it's my favorite kind of book, but I did really like it and it stuck with me. So I think I will buy this because of the cover and the originality of it one day for my shelves. but I'm not in a rush to do that, so I haven't bought this physically, and I'm really looking forward to when the third Whisperwicks book comes out and Sea of Charms by Sarah Beth Durst. I own her books. The second one in this kind of world, Enchanted Greenhouse, was not my favorite, but they're very cozy and quick reads, and the covers are really beautiful, so at this point I'm collecting them to go together, and I do have high hopes for this Sea of Charms book coming out, I think in summer. And yeah, I think this was a mistake. I made this wish list when I was like 80% through Outlander. Good book, no hate on it, but the ending was just so crazy, and I kind of got a better feel for the book and the last 20% of it that I have kind of DNF'd this series. One day I might read it, but I'll most likely watch the show. I think I would like the show better than reading such long books for the type of book it is. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't really want to own this book anymore, but the rest I do. I want to own Burn of the Everflame when it comes out. I own the other books in this series. So I'm just going to leave this wish list. I don't think I'll check anything off. I think I'll just leave it, and then we can write in all the books I've bought. Glancing over at my same journal, I am going to get my Muji pen and write in monthly order, starting with January. I got The Sun and the Star Maker. Honestly, don't remember who that's by right now, but I don't put the author in here because it's too long. So The Sun and the Star Maker. One person reviewed this and it looked so good, and I pre-ordered it. That's how good it looked to me, and I have yet to read it, but I want to. Month, I put Jan, and the cost. It was a hardcover and it was $18.63. Then I got Sense and Sensibility, the Penguin Classic version. I used to own this, but I couldn't find it, and I don't think I ever read it. I think I read Emma Mansfield Park and Pride and Prejudice, but I don't think I've ever read Sense and Sensibility, at least not the whole thing. I have seen the movie, but I want to read it soon, maybe here in spring, and then watch the movie again. And that I got for $5.13. That's part of why I got it. It was on sale. Then in February, I got Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter, and I think I'll just shorten it to Agnes Aubert, or Aubert, Aubert, I don't know how you say that. February, and that was an expensive one because it was brand new, so it was $30. I then got an anniversary edition of Annihilation for $18. I got Swordcatcher, spelled catcher wrong, that's fine, for also $18. And Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett for $18. And these were at a local bookshop that I specifically wanted to support, so that's why I spent more on those books all in 1 month. I got 2 volumes of Witch Hat, which I'll just put in one row with the total, because they were both like $9 and some cents and equaled 20 when I got both of them. That's a nice round number, so I'm going to put Witch Hat volume 3 and 4 and 20, and Raven Boys graphic novel for $12. I'm going to do GN for graphic novel, and that was $12. Then I got Letters to a Young Poet in the Penguin Classic Edition in March for $13. And I pre-ordered John Green's new book, Hollywood Ending, for $22. And there we go. So at this rate, I'm getting a lot of books, and I might need to add another section in here, but some of these were anticipated releases and things I was really excited about, so no regrets. I'm happy with those purchases. And then we have my On My Shelf spread, which are the books I own physically, to help me prioritize them and make it through these. So last year I just added every book I bought the whole year and added an insert, like a tip in, because I bought so many. This year I would really like to keep to this one spread. So last year someone gave me the idea to cover the books I have read with a new book I've purchased, so that this stays consistent in just showing the physical books I own that I have not read. So I printed off all the books that I've purchased physically, not the John Green one because it hasn't come yet. And here are the other ones I mentioned. So now let's just cut these out, and I think I will place them over top of the ones on my shelf that I have read. So like some of these Throne of Glass ones and stuff. Let's do that. There we go. And I'm someone who organizes books on my shelf by like genre, so I even put new books often with their genre. So that's why I like to keep this spread specifically, is because when I look at my bookshelves, all of the individual books I haven't read kind of get lost, and this just helps me remember, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I have this book on my shelf, I should pick that up and read it. And I think it's kind of a fun challenge to see if I can not surpass the amount of books that this page holds. So I did put this version of Anne of Green Gables on here, even though I've read this book. This is a new edition and I hadn't read this one, so if I don't have room for it, I might fudge and not put it on here, but we'll see. And then I bought these two books, for example, and I have read them, so maybe I shouldn't put them on here at all. That would kind of make sense. We'll see. We'll see how I figure out how to use this. I could cover these books because I have read Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight. I guess if I have already read it, I should not put it on here because it will just, because I bought it, but I've already read it. So those I don't need to put. We can go ahead and put those, and this is Wuthering Heights right here, so I'll put Sense and Sensibility over that. And then we'll just have to hope the rest fit on here, and hopefully this pushes me to prioritize these books I already own. There we go, and we will see. If I run out of space and it's not making me feel motivated, I'm all for doing something that feels like good for you. So I'm going to try to have this spread keep me accountable to not buy more books than I can fit on here without reading some of them that I already own, so I can cover them up, because this spread can hold 50 books. So I feel like 50 books that I haven't read is plenty. I don't desire to have more than that. So I'll try to have this keep me accountable, and then these I did buy but already read them, so I don't have to put those on. That's my kind of new thing I figured out about this spread that I hadn't thought of before. But I really need to start prioritizing books I own because I'm obviously running out of space. So then we have my favorite books by month, and because I'm not behind on my monthly spreads, and I know some of you guys may be, I just wanted to encourage you that if you read a book in January and you haven't made a spread for it, this is your permission to make a short spread or a short little blurb. Do one of those spreads where you put like a little box here, here, and here, and put a book in each, and just write like a quote about the book or from the book that you liked. You can, Google it and remind yourself. And if it's a book you really loved, you can just give it a whole page, a whole spread, or you can also just give it a small space if you loved it but you don't remember what you want to say about it. I would encourage, if you loved a book, to take time to look it up. Skimp on the other book reviews that you didn't love, and the ones you did love, take time to like read the Goodreads synopsis or something and remind yourself, and take time to like kind of sit and think about it, just because I think at the end of the day you'll appreciate having your favorite books with your review written about them. Yeah, so these are the books so far I've picked for my monthly favorites. January was Finding Grace by Loretta Rothschild. Again, made me feel kind of funny things, but I did like it, and I didn't read any other books in January that I preferred, so I picked this one. It stood out to me more than the others. And then February was Daughter of the Forest, my favorite book I've read this year so far. Love this book. I instantly read the second book in the series, and I've finished the third. It's 6 books long, and I read the first 3, and they're all kind of a little bit standalone, so they have like different main characters, but they build on one another in the overall like storyline, if that makes sense. And then I started Throne of Glass, and this is my favorite for March. And somehow I printed these book covers a little bit bigger than usual for like my monthly reviews, but they fit okay, so I'm just gonna go with it. I really don't know what I did differently. I did the same thing I always do every month, but I think it worked out okay, and I'll just use these ones as a template to print my monthly favorites, because I think they're just a little bit bigger than my monthly review book covers are. last year I did star ratings on this page. I get star rating stickers and they're not like the cheapest things ever, so I didn't know if I wanted to use them on this page because I usually have a 4 or 5 star each month, but I guess it's possible one month I won't, and I might want to record that it was like a 3-star read. Like I think I gave this Finding Grace 4 stars and I just didn't have any book that exceeded that this month. So sometimes I like to see that, but we will think about that. And I might be able to fit it in down here, or if I could handwrite it in and not use my star rating stickers, so I could make the stars a little smaller maybe. So we'll see about that, but this is what I have for now. And again, easy, and I set this up beforehand, so I really like this spread. And I really admire people who do a monthly wrap-up spread where they do like graphs and all of their stats each month and set up a whole spread each month. But I really like my beginning of the year spreads because that's a lot for me to do, especially with my kind of elaborate decorating style, as you can see. These take me a good while, and I come in here and film each month over 1 or 2 afternoons, and I think this just works for me. So I don't really have time to do a monthly overview spread with all the stats and graphs and more things to print off. So if you do that and you like it, that is really amazing. I think those journals look really beautiful, but I just also want to say if you don't have time for that, that's why I do these yearly spreads. And this is my series tracker, and as you can see, I made a little Dutch door tip-in situation because I was running out of room already, because I have a lot of series that I've started that I haven't finished. And then I started more series, and I'm making it further in those series than some of them I had started. So anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and make room. So I have plenty of room, and I think next year I will know that I tend to like series and probably just give myself more space to start with, like cut this Dutch door so it's actually in the binding. But for now, I think just taping it on the one side like that works and makes it less bulky. And I didn't really tape it down here, but that's because I don't really need to, so I think this works. This was just a spare piece of paper from a tip-in that from a Dutch door I cut on probably this spring TBR spread. I had this much that I cut off, and so I made this out of that. I cut it shorter to line up with the top, and I think to not cover up my stuff down here, I will also cut this now that I thought about that. So I'm going to cut it on this row. Recommend doing this before you tape it in, but I am obviously learning as I go. And then my corner rounder, there we go. Okay, that works, and I figured I could either extend some of these slots for a longer series, not maybe this one, this will fit here, but I could do, if it's a duology, I could put it here, or if there's 4 books, I could put them here and here. I don't know, I haven't exactly sorted out what I want to do, but I did think I will put 7 Waters here. So originally I was going to have the Outlander, at least first 3 books. I didn't plan to finish all of them in this year necessarily, but since I've DNF'd this, I'm going to try to cover this up and put 7 Waters here because it is 6 books long and it could fit here and here. I think that is what I will do. And then I'm going to see if I can just fit on this side all 8 of the Throne of Glass books. So they won't really be like in a row like the others, they'll be on this column, but I think that's fine with me. I probably will still finish the Empyrean series. I remember these pretty well, and I rented them on audiobook from the library, so I'm just waiting for, what's the third one called? Onyx Storm? I'll read that, and I loved Red Rising. I don't know why I haven't continued it. I think I was intimidated or something. I don't even know how to explain it, but I own the second book, and I will read this. Like, I know I will like it. It's more sci-fi, and I tend to like, I like sci-fi every now and then. I always have, but I'm, you know, more of a Lord of the Rings kind of girl than a Star Wars kind of girl, even though I like both. But anyway, so I tend to like fantasy. And then these are all of the Throne of Glass little covers. And I read Assassin's Blade. I've read these 4. So I'm going to leave these and put them in my little, I have a little clear box where I keep my extra book covers, and I'm going to cut out the first 3 in the 7 Waters series. Tea break. I think I need need to invest in some whiteout. I have a paint pen, but I find that it bleeds some of my ink. Even my waterproof ink, my Micron ink, has bled when I do gel pen or my Posca pen over it. So don't know if I'm just doing something wrong. But so I tend to cover it with like a little scrap of paper, like the end we just cut off. If I line up the dots, I can make just a strip that covers it, I think. And sometimes it's like kind of obvious, but I don't know, at a glance it's really not a big deal. Let's put that there. I did not read Assassin's Blade first, I read it second, but that's really random. But maybe I should put it second just to represent that I did that. My own unique order. I think that works. And so it'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then Daughter of the Forest will cover Outlander. I'm really happy I started these two series. I love them both so far, Throne of Glass and Seven Waters. They're different. They both have fae in them, but the writing style of them is very different. But I'm enjoying both of them. I feel like the first Throne of Glass ones so far have been quicker reads. They're not very long. Like Heir of Fire is just starting to be a little bit longer, I think. I'm listening to them on audiobook, so I kind of lose track of how long they are sometimes. But in hours, they have not been very long. But yeah, there are those. I really like the covers of these versions I printed off. I just chose what I liked because I don't own them yet, and I do want to own these covers because I like the series so much. But I'm not sure how hard they are to find yet. And I think the style of these covers go really well with like my general kind of style of this spread with my lantern stickers and like the flowery washi tape. I think they go really nicely. After I read the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas, I knew that I would probably like Throne of Glass better just because of everything I heard from my friends who have read them and preferred Throne of Glass. I had tastes similar to them, so I kind of knew I would probably like the series even better. But for some reason I put it off for a good while because I was, again, like intimidated or something, or I don't know. I feel like a series can be kind of daunting because if you do like it, you want to read all the others, and there's often a lot of books in the series, but I don't know why I was nervous. Let's use my micron for the title. I think I used my 0.5 micron maybe for these titles. Okay, let's do Seven Waters and Throne of Glass. And there we go. Let's see. I feel like I don't think I've made progress on any of the other ones. And you can see I left a lot of spaces blank, and that's because I was in the middle or in the first book of a lot of series, but I didn't necessarily know when or if I would read the whole thing. So like I've started Harp of Kings by Juliette Marillier. That's a series as well. But until I start the second book, I think I just won't put it in here just so that I don't end up with a bunch of non-finished series in here. I'm trying to prioritize reading series, and I'm okay with whatever ones they are at this point. I do own the second Red Rising, so I want to do that. This fourth book in the Kindred's Curse saga comes out this year, so I want to add that. And then I think I will do the Whisperwicks books because I really like those, and I've already read the first two. So I would maybe put those here, even if I don't need the last spot. I'm not really sure. And I might add some washi tape here just to make it go. Here's my set I used to set this journal up that I really like from Notebook Therapy called Moonflower Magic, if you're wondering. And then because of the lanterns here, I don't necessarily think I need the tape on this side, but I like it on this side because it was a little more plain. We can always add more later. Remember, your reading journal is a work in progress. It doesn't need to look completely finished at any one point. You can always come back and add things. It's important to do things as you have the energy for them so you don't get burnt out and then fall more behind. So I think this looks great. Added those two series in here. And then my next spread is my bingo and my book club. And another thing I'm behind on is my book club. It only meets every other month. So we've really only done, I think technically we're on our third book, and I did not read the first two. So I'm behind even in that aspect of things. The books just weren't picks that I was super into, and then I couldn't get them from the library, and then I fell behind. But the third book we are reading like starting now, and we have until May to finish it. The middle of May to finish it, is The Wife Upstairs, but it's not the author. There's a book called The Wife Upstairs by Frida McFadden, I believe, but this is not that author. I'll put the author on the screen. And so I will add that after I read it. I just at least put the title and my rating and maybe some notes after the book club meeting about it. But that works for me because now I have a little more room to fit in the books I do read with book club. And I just do a little list format. I really like this spread with the stars behind and the key stickers. So I love flipping through these and filling them out because I'm really happy that I set these up beforehand. So it's nice to have a reason to revisit them. And let's check some things off our bingo. So I have dot stickers. They came in a huge pack and they're like watercolor-y. So some are darker than others. They all kind of vary. I've thought about doing my wax seal stickers to cover up like the ones I've done. I thought that would be really cute, but they're really bulky, so I don't know that that's the best idea. So I have my dot stickers back here in this binder with different folders. The binder and the inserts are from Amazon, if you're curious. I made an Amazon favorites for a lot of my journaling supplies that I'll link in the bio if you want. I do earn a small income off of the things you order from my Amazon, just so you guys know. But I'm always upfront about that, and I just appreciate if you use them. If you don't, no problem. But if you do want to support me, I appreciate that. And I think these blue stickers go with the spread very well. And they're kind of transparent, so I can still read through them. So let's see if I have another one. They came in all these different colors. So there's like shades ranging from purples to blues. And I think this one looks more blue and even looks like it has some kind of like white or like star galaxy looking things. So I think I'll get those out and put the rest back. Okay, and now I read a classic, Wuthering Heights, in February, annotating 10 books. So some of my bingo things are more difficult or like, I don't know, a larger feat than some. I did a mixture of easier ones and harder ones. A new to you author. I didn't read any Juliette Marillier until this year, so I guess I can put her for this one. And I'm going to try not to double count things best I can. Finish 4 series, that's a goal of mine. Read 3 historical fiction. I don't think I will count historical fantasy. Juliette Marillier's books are historical fantasy, but I'm talking more like historical lit fic, I think. We will think about that later. I'm trying to just get a couple that I know for sure I've done. A graphic novel, I'm not going to count manga, but I have the Raven Boys graphic novel that I want to do soon, and then a manga over here. So we'll go ahead and check off a manga. And then a debut author, I believe Loretta Rothschild. Finding Grace is her first book. Maybe not. I'll have to look up some of these things off camera. I'm not going to put it unless I know for sure. If you do know for sure any of the books I mentioned, a debut author or historical fiction, feel free to comment and let me know. But I'm going to look that up in my own time as long as we do a couple and catch up in here. Book turned movie, technically Wuthering Heights, but I'm not going to count that because I counted it for a classic. And Annihilation has been turned into a movie, and I got that book. So I think I would like to do that book for this maybe. A love triangle. Yes, a lot of my books have had love triangles, kind of. Okay, here's the real question. Do you guys think Assassin's Blade counts as a collection of short stories? Probably not, right? I don't know. Let me know. Read 4th book in a series. Okay, if you count Heir of Fire, since I read Assassin's Blade, then I've read the 4th book in that one. A book that made me cry, Daughter of the Forest, made me cry. And I'm currently reading a book of poetry, but not done yet. A one-word title. Okay, let's do read 4th book in a series, and The River Has Roots will count as my book under 200 pages. And I think that's good for now. I have Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter that will count as a book published in 2026, or the Whisperwicks book if I get that, or any of the other new releases. So I think this is good so far. I'm going to wait for like a standout plot twist. Some books I've read might count as this, but I've counted them for other things. So without giving, spoilers on which books those were. But yeah, okay, I think this looks really good. I love the color scheme. I think last thing I'll do is go to my spring TBR right here. And let's just check in. Spring is not all the way over, so I can film my full check-in if you guys would like to see that. But this is a quick check-in in my reading journal overall, so I just wanted to take you along with me. Last year's reading journal, I never checked in on these seasonal spreads with you guys, so let me know if you would like to see that. I'm happy to say I've read several of these books. Child of the Prophecy, yes, and we can check mark. I'm finishing Anne of Green Gables this month. I read Witch Hat, 2 volumes of that. I still want to read A River Enchanted really badly. Child of the Prophecy finished. The River Has Roots. And I own The Raven Boys, and it's a graphic novel, so I just need to go ahead and read that. And I really, really want to read Emma M. Lyon. So I feel like I'm close to checking off a couple more. And then I have had a picnic with my kids, and I have read outside. These don't have check boxes, but we can just put a little check. I haven't made any drinks I can think of that stand out. I've tried a lot of fun matcha drinks from like Starbucks and other coffee shops. I did make a bookmark with my own art. It's not really the kind of bookmark I was thinking of making. It's kind of a long story, but I'm starting my own illustration business where I actually illustrated these stickers. And so I've been coming up with products I want to put my illustrations on, and I printed my own bookmarks to test them out. So I technically made bookmarks, but I was thinking more of like embroidering one or something, just like as a craft. And I have done watercolor, and I have not done a flower garland yet. So let's do watercolor. And bookmarks, we can check that later, but I still might want to make like an embroidered one, or I kind of want to do pressed flowers between thicker laminating material. I bought one from a bookstore one time, and it's these cute 3 small little flowers in a column and just clear background, and the corners are rounded. And I love it. I actually misplaced it. I want to find it. I think I know where it is, but I'll show you guys one day. It's really pretty, and I thought about making one of those myself, but I need to press flowers for that. Secret World of Ariete I've watched. I fell off of Bridgerton, season 4. I need to finish that up. I think I kind of just forgot about it. I've really been in a big reading mood, but more specifically, guys, I've been playing Pokopia almost every night. I mean, I edit videos or do other things in the evening after my kids go to bed, but the nights where I am playing Pokopia, I listen to an audiobook and vice versa, or I'll be listening to an audiobook and illustrating for my illustration company I'm trying to start. So between Pokopia and illustrating, that's why I have listened to so many more audiobooks than usual. And then I haven't played much Star Sand Island or Fields of Mystria. So after Pokopia, I'm like not as obsessed with it. I want to jump back into those 2 games. So stay tuned to my gaming journal videos. I just started one. I actually started a new series called For the Love of Journaling, where I'm just going to show you every so often anything else journaling related that I do. That was kind of my idea, is I'll put it under For the Love of Journaling series, where I just try to be really laid back and realistic in showing you different journaling endeavors I'm trying out, in hopes of inspiring you to give something a try, or if anything, inspiring you to not have to be so perfectionistic about things like I can be. I'm trying to let go of that. So I have that series, and I started my gaming journal in my first episode. And based on your guys' feedback, I'm going to do some more spreads in that journal. And I think I'll just start a gaming journal series like my reading journal, but maybe every other month or so, and do spreads in there and show you guys. So I definitely want to do a spread for Pokopia. And then I'll do probably Stardew Valley, Fields of Mystria, and Star Sand Island, and maybe a few others. But yeah, there is this little spring TBR check-in, and with that, we are caught up on all the things I felt behind on. And then last thing I'll do is fill in a couple things on my index, just my monthly spreads. These, I'm not going to list out all these yearly spreads because they're all here in the very beginning. Like, there's not that many of them. They're all right here. And then I have a blank spread just in case I want to add something else. And then it starts my monthly spreads. So I'm just going to count to the beginning of each month and my seasonal TBRs and add them in here, starting with this page being number 1. And then I'm going to mark this page so I don't have to count all of those again with a little 21 right there, 29, 37, 42, 41, 48, 49, 50. And then this is page 50, so I'm just going to write myself a little number right there. And then that's enough to fill in my index. So January's is page 21 to 28. January book spreads. And then over here, I'm going to do page 21 to 28. February book spreads would be page 29 to 29. to 36. And my last tip as I wrap this up is to feel free if something's not working for you to let it go. I started my journal 2 years ago with some spreads that I thought sounded really fun, and it was just too much for me to keep up with. And it's totally fine if you just stop filling out a spread, if it's bringing you more stress than it is fun, and adjust your expectations as the year goes. And add a new spread if you want, even if it's not at the beginning where you want it to be, if it's later in the journal. Again, there's no rules, and your journal should feel like a safe place where you can try things out. And I hope at the end of the day you have fun in your journal, because that's really what it's about. And there we go. Here is my imperfect index where I messed up right here, but I'll either fix it later or I won't, and I'll leave it like this. Thank you guys. Someone started calling me, which I didn't even know was possible while I'm filming, but thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope this video was helpful. I hope we are all caught up enough in our reading journals that we don't feel overwhelmed. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and happy journaling. I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!